Is it recording?
Yep.
Oh, oi oi, and welcome to the Dritz Dresden channel. We are here to review
Well, first of
Tucker
all,
versus Eel. Oh yeah, I'm Skeeter, that's Derp Derp. Like and subscribe and all that crap. Um, Maybe we should do the announcements like at the beginning.
yeah.
You know, like hey, we have Pokemon D&D on Wednesday.
And besides joining us today, join us Thursday for One Piece. That's all that I know that we have planned.
Yeah, Thursday for One Piece.
Last
We're watching it blind. I have never seen it before, and we're reviewing it because we got 10,000 subscribers. So I hate all you.
and that's all we really have scheduled for this week. Other than possibly One Piece might be streaming on Twitch instead. Possibly if I have that set up by then. My videos will still be uploaded to YouTube.
It's a lot easier. Whoa, I'm on TV.
Just gonna try
Hi, Mom.
streaming on Twitch to see if we can get a more engaging audience. So if you want us to stay on YouTube, start engaging in our live stream, please.
No, if you're on. Oh, I should do this thing, shouldn't
And today we're reviewing Tucker and Dale versus Evil. This is my second time watching it.
I? I've never seen it before, and I was told to watch it by random people, and they were like, "Yeah, you should watch it."
Uh,
Go Hill.
yeah, OBS has been it's usual, so the stream might go in and out, but the recording won't.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. Well, let's get into it.
First off, let's go through the cast. We have Dell Dobson, played by Tyler Labine. Tucker McGee, played by the star of the show, Alan Tudyk.
Yep. These are the Tucker and Dale characters of the Tucker and Dale versus Evil in the title.
Then we have Allison, played by Katrina Bowden. Chad, played by Jesse Moss. Chloe, played by Chilean Simmons. Sheriff Gurr, played by Philip Granger. Jason, played by Brandon J. McCarran. And Naomi, played by Christy Lane. And then Tucker Dale also has a dog named Jangers.
Oh yeah. All right. So this movie,
Every other one is kind of. And
yep,
then Mike,
they're not
played by.
they're not like main cast
Yeah.
characters, so we don't need to really talk about them because they're just in there for like 2 seconds, or they're just there and they don't say anything. Um, well, anyways, it starts off with kids in a fraternity going. They're all college kids going on vacation to this wooded area in the hills of Appalachia. And there we meet Tucker and Dale, who are going on. They just bought a Tucker just bought or not? Yeah, Tucker just bought a new vacation home, and it's kind of run down, and it's their first time there. And Dale sees the college kids, and he's like, "Oh man, I want to talk to that girl. I don't know how to do it." And Tucker's like, "You need to talk to that girl right now." And Dale's like, "Okay." So
The
he talks.
first half, there's also an altercation in the car where they're backing up and they almost run into each other. And then they pull up beside each other as driving and they just give death glares at the teens.
Yep, because they don't know what they're looking at. They're like, "Oh, these teens are weird." But there's a lot of like misconceptions because the teenagers have seen way too many horror movies, and they're like, "Oh no, we're here in the woods. These hillbillies are here to kill us. Oh man!" And they're even more scared when Chad tells them a story about how 20 years ago there was a massacre about a bunch of hillbillies killing a bunch of college kids. And he was like, it's 20 years today. And scares everyone, and now everyone thinks that the hillbillies are trying to get them. And so the movie is basically the college kids misinterpreting what they see. So they decided to go skinny dipping.
And the hillbillies just trying to save them.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's kind of a metaphor for
Don't judge a book by its cover.
yeah, but it's also a metaphor for like the world, like how wars start, and because Allison, we she mentions later that she's going to school for psychology and she believes that wars and conflict is caused by miscommunication, and that is exactly what this entire movie is about. It is entirely miscommunication between these two parties, and what one sees is, you could see, oh look, my friend died. Oh wait, he actually killed himself accidentally. It wasn't anyone's fault. It's just a misinterpreting and an escalation thing, and that's how wars start in real life too. You see something happen, but you don't know the whole story, but it's something so brutal that you believe it, and you can throw in propaganda and warmongering and stuff like that, and how people can be duped easily. It's good to ask questions and be like, hey, why are we fighting this war? You know, like World War I started. Like some guy was assassinated, and all of a sudden, you know, Russia and Germany are involved, and then you have France and Great Britain, and then the United States, and they're all killing each other, and for what? For nothing. Anyways, um, that's kind of the basis of this entire movie is that psychological thing, but and misinterpreting and miscommunication. But anyways, so we have this Chad guy, and he's like, oh my God, these hillbillies are trying to kill us. We gotta watch out. We gotta be careful in these woods. And so they decide to go skinny dipping, and we get this like really weird scene between Chad and Allison. How Chad is like drunk and he's like coming on to Allison. He's like, "We're better than everyone else. We're just like on a different level. We should be together." And he like tries to kiss her, and she's like, "No, go away." So they all skinny dip, and they're skinny dipping wrong because they still have clothes on. But Allison is on a rock, and she's taking off her clothes slowly, and this is where we see Dale and Tucker. They're fishing in a boat, and Tucker is trying to be a peeping tom, and Dale's like oh, Tucker, no, don't, and she's like, oh my God, falls in the water, hits her head, and this is the first thing of miscommunication where they're like, oh crap, she's not coming up. So the hillbillies in their boat go to take her over, and as they're pulling her in the boat, the college kids see that and they're like, oh my God, those hillbillies knocked her out and they're taking her away. And they're like, hey, we got your friend. The hillbillies are like, hey, we got your friend. They're like, oh my God, they took her. And they start running away.
Well, they're just trying
Instead
to
of
say,
saying,
come grab her.
yeah, instead of saying thank you, they just ran away like idiots. And so this gives Chad the a-okay, be like, oh my God, they took Allison, they probably killed her, we need to get revenge. So one of the kids, who's the smartest one, he's like,
Decides to go to get help.
yes, he leaves and to get the cops, while the super teenager, instead of just standing there, they're like, oh, let's do so. It's Chad who's just like, yeah, we gotta attack them. We gotta save our friends. We don't need the cops. We can do it ourselves. Uh, Mentality. And Allison wakes up and she's immediately frightened because of the story that Chad made of these hillbillies are trying to kill them. He's Dale is bringing her breakfast,
Pancakes.
and she's like, oh no, no. He's like, oh my God, you don't like pancakes, dude, I'll make you something else. Brings her bacon and eggs, and then she realizes like these guys aren't bad, um, and she gets to know them better, and they're working on this farm, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll bring you back, and they tell her that she fell into the water and she got a she got knocked
Concussion.
out. Yeah, and so then they're out working, and well, Dale and Allison are playing a board game. Tucker's out there. He saws into a
A
log,
log. Yep.
and there's a hornet's nest or a bee's nest in there. And he has his chainsaw, and he's like, "Oh my god, ah!" And right as the group of teenagers is coming to the house to try to find Allison, he's like running away with the with the beast chasing him, and he's going all crazy, and all the teenagers just run away. And at one point, one of the teenagers is like looking at him, and you can tell he's just like, "Oh, this guy is being stung by bees." And of course, he runs to a branch, and he dies. It skewers
A
him.
giant branch. It's not just a small, tiny branch.
Yeah, it's like a tree that falls over and one of the roots is protruding out, and he runs right into it. Because when
And
you're
through
running,
it.
you gotta look where you're going. Yeah, he runs right through it. He's dead in a matter of 30 seconds, and realizes, oh, these guys weren't trying to kill us. That's how I interpreted it. But if you guys interpreted it differently, leave a like in the comments if you're listening, or not. I don't really care. Um, but oh,
That's
we
just
got a person watching. All right,
that's just the first of many stupid deaths.
yes, first of many stupid deaths. So the teenagers, of course, take this as, oh my God, they killed our friend. Oh, jeez. Oh, and they're hiding behind like a giant log, where their friend is, kind of, and the Dale and Tucker come out. They're like, oh man, we gotta find these kids, and they're like, hey, college kids, we have your friend, and he leaves a message with an X, like, we have your friend with a UR, which is pretty great.
The whole time that they don't realize that they're like 5 feet from their friend's body.
Yeah,
That's a,
Tucker and Dale don't even see that body. Um,
they're like 5 feet away from it.
yeah, they happen to not see that body, but they're saying, we have your friend, like, come get your friend, like, we have her. She's safe now. You can come get her, please. And so then they're just like kind of working, and they decide. Chad riles up everyone and says, "We need to attack these hillbillies and save Allison." Oh my God! So they make makeshift weapons. They make some spears or whatever, and you have, um, I think Allison and uh, Dale have a nice conversation. They're digging a latrine pit or shitter pit for the shitter house, and she's like, "Oh, I used to work on a farm, so I can do this." And so the kids come up and spy on them. They're like, "Oh my God, they're making her dig her own grave," and which is not the case. There's a miscommunication, and so this is where this,
This is
and then
and
they,
Tucker is
and then they're like, "Okay,
currently doing a working a wood chipper.
yep, he's just putting wood into a wood chipper, and the teenagers split up and decide to attack them. And so you have one kid with this makeshift spear. He's like, oh, and he's attacking Dale, and Allison is there, and Dale has a shovel in his hand, turns to see the guy, accidentally knocks Allison out, and then this
Falls
guy
back.
falls back, and then this kid,
Tries to pole vault.
yeah, he skewers himself with his own spear. And then there's another kid who's
Best death of the movie.
yeah, another kid. He has a knife, and he sees Tucker, and Tucker's just doesn't notice him, doesn't work the wood chipper, and he just dives at him, but he moves at the last second, so he dives headfirst into the wood chipper. Tucker turns around like, what is happening? Like,
This
he just threw himself in there.
this brings them to the realization that these teenagers are a suicide cult.
Yeah, they're a suicide cult. They're killing themselves. I don't know what's with them. And they even, and then Allison gets knocked out again, But when she wakes up, they're like, "Hey, are your friends off their medication?" And she's like, "What? Yeah, because I think they're in a suicide cult. They're killing themselves." And she's like, "No, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that?" And then the sheriff comes. The kid with the car comes back with the sheriff, and uh, it's like right after the scene where the wood chipper and stuff like that. And they're running. They're like, "Oh my god, they're trying to kill us," and they're not. But they come the sheriff, and meanwhile Tucker and Dale are like, "We need." Or Dale's like, "We need to call the cops," and Tucker's like, "Do you think the cops are going to believe the story that we these children just killed themselves on our property? No, we got to get rid of these bodies." And of course, they're getting rid of the wood chipper body, and that's when the sheriff comes, and they're like, "Oh, hi," and they tell that exact story that they said wasn't going to work, and the sheriff is like, "Yeah, I don't believe you." So like, "Oh, yeah, let's go inside." So they go inside, and he checks the girl, and she's still unconscious at the time, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no
Not
problem.
brain dead.
Yeah, not brain dead, just knocked out. All right, everything's good." And in this house, it's all run down. I forgot to mention that one of the
Beams.
beams
Yep.
is broken, so don't lean on it. And so, of course, the sheriff goes and leans on it, and a nail board hits him right in the head. As he walks outside to his car. He tries to do the radio, but he can't at the last second. So the driver kid, he sees the cop on the ground. He's like, "Oh, these, oh, they're," and all the kids are like, "Oh my God, they just killed the sheriff." Of course, another misinterpretation of
The
everything.
sheriff is apparently part of the suicide cult.
Yeah, and they think they killed the wood chipper kid and the latrine pit kid. They think they were
And the
killed,
tree impaled guy.
and the tree impaled guy. They think they were all killed by these two rednecks or hillbillies. And so this kid comes out, he pulls out the gun, and he's like, "Ah, you bastards!" And he tries shooting him. And then Dale is like, "Hey, you got to move that safety on the side there." And so the kid is looking to fix the safety, and he shoots himself in the head. And everybody in the car is just freaking out even more, like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" Ah! And so all of them run away, and now they have another plan to their next plan is to they steal the dog. What's the name? Jangles.
Yep.
Jangles.
Jangers.
Oh, Jangers. They steal Jangers the dog, who is a described as a marshmallow. He looks mean, but he's a marshmallow. You can pet him on the nose, kind of thing. And so Chad, of course, kidnaps the dog, and he's like, "If you don't come out here, we're gonna kill your dog." And they're like, "Oh no." They're like, "Oh, you better not kill our dog." And so they have a nail gun inside, and so Dale gets on the nail gun as a distraction while Tucker sneaks around with his one little branch. He rolled a 20 on his sneak, by the way. He has a one little tiny little branch, and he's like running through the woods so no one can see him. Meanwhile, the kids in the car are being nail gunned. Nobody gets hurt, but it's just a distraction. And Tucker releases the dog, but he gets captured by Chad. He kind of runs away a little bit, and he gets punched, and he wakes up tied up and upside down, and Chad kind of talks to him. He's just like, "You did this. You did this." He's like, "Oh, guys, I don't know why you're in this death cult, but I got a case of beers. We can have some together. And we can make this all go away." He's like, "No." So we get another message from Dale and Allison. Dale and Allison get another message um, of a package, and they're like, "Hey." So they throw this package. Allison walks out, and she opens this package, and it's Dale's bowling fingers. He's like, "No, your bowling fingers, no!" And it says, now we have your friend. Come and get him." And it's a trap, of course, to try to get the two hillbillies. But uh, Dale is able to avoid the trap somehow. Actually, there's a stick that goes right between his legs, very scary. And he's like, oh, I'm glad I'm not hung like a bear. Lets him down, and he's like, oh my god, they stole my fingers, blah blah blah. And so after that, how do the other kids die again?
Then they go. Then it's
Oh, that's
night.
right. They
They
invade the
they go
house.
back. The teenagers go back to the house.
While the is this when Dale is rescuing Tucker, that's when they go to the house
Yep.
and try to save Allison. And they're like talking to her. They're like, "Hey, how's it going?" They're like, "Oh, good. And hey, how's it going?" She's like, "Oh yeah, these hillbillies are not bad." And then one of them is like, "He's like, oh, I heard about this in my psychology class or in my sociology class. It's called Stockholm syndrome. It's where you side with your captors." And she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And so now Chad is like, "Oh my god, you sided with the hillbillies? You're in love with them?" She's like, "What? No." But she does like Dale because he was nice to her. And so Chad goes batshit crazy, and he's like, "Now I know you're a hillbilly. Oh, I'm gonna have to kill you now." Like what's happening? So the hillbillies come back, and they're like, "Hey, let the girl go," and um, we have one of the chicks, or there's two people outside, the dumb
The
girl
black guy and the
and the dumb girl,
and
and
the
then inside it's
bimbo.
Chad and the darker
Yep.
skinned girl. I don't know, the brunette. Um, and they're in there like, oh my god, blah blah blah. And these two guys from an outside, they're talking, and actually Allison is working her psychology magic, and she gets Chad and Dale to sit down at a table and to drink tea together. Where we learn Chad can't have chamomile tea because of his asthma. He has an inhaler and stuff. And Dale is like loves Earl Grey. So she's like, oh, it's Earl Grey. It's like, oh, he's like, oh, this is great. I love Earl Grey. So they sit down, and they're each told to tell their story. Chad tells his story, and you think it would be about what had happened in the movie so far, but no, he's like, it goes back to before I was born. And Allison's like, no, no, not that far back. He's like, no, this is important. She's like, all right, fine, whatever. So he tells a story about the massacre, and about his mom escaped the massacre, but his dad, they weren't able to find his dad's body, and his mom was in a psychiatric ward for all his life, basically. So he
and
hates hillbillies.
and that his mom was pregnant at this time with him.
Yeah, yeah. So that's important, and that's how he was born. And he grew up very messed up, and probably in a foster home or something. And so that's his story.
I
And
grew up with grandparents.
oh, grandparents, okay. And Dale tells his story of like, oh yeah, we were just fishing, and we she hit her head, and we had to rescue her. And yeah, that was pretty much what happened. And then we got attacked. And she's like, okay, that's your truth. All right, now come together. And then as they're coming together, the black guy and the stupid blonde chick outside attack, and the black guy takes a weed whacker and charges at Tucker. He's like, die! So Tucker gets out of the way, and then the brunette is in
The
there.
black girl,
Yeah,
the
her face
darker
gets all
skin.
like messed up. He's like, oh my god, why didn't you get out of the way? Oh my god, So she's, mangled, and then the black guy accidentally gets set on fire. I forget I forget how he gets set on fire, but he accidentally gets set on fire, and I think it was Chad. He like threw something at him, or he threw something at Dale, and Dale ducked, and it hit Chad, and he got set on fire. And then the stupid blonde chick throws moonshine at him, so now he's really on fire. And he's like, oh my god, I'm on fire. And this blonde chick is like really traumatized with this, so she lights up a cigarette, and she's like, takes one last puff, and the house is about to burn down, explode, because there's a bunch of gas cans inside, of course. And Tucker's like, says, oh man, I should have moved those, shouldn't I? So the house explodes, and Chad is alive somehow still, but like half his face is like
Burnt.
burned, and so that's kind of a metaphor for his true self because he's projecting that these hillbillies are evil. These hillbillies are evil, so that gives him a pass to do evil himself, to kill these people. So it's a huge projection thing, and I think this is when he steals Allison or something like that. Or
No,
oh,
they escape in the car.
that's right. They escape in the car, and Dale is an idiot. He doesn't keep his eyes on the road, and they crash into a tree. And then Allison is taken to a lumber mill or whatever, and we have this. It said OBS is
Yeah,
disconnecting. Oh, okay. Um, we have this uh, massive fight in this lumber mill after Dale and Tucker have this heart to heart with each other. Like, you got to go after that girl, man, and then you got to ask her on a date, man. I know you can do it. They're like friends for life, best friends for life. So then we get this epic showdown in the lumber mill. Allison gets tied up because she's now quote unquote a hillbilly. And she's like, "What are you talking about? I'm not a hillbilly." He's like, "Yes, you are. You deserve this." So we get a fight between Dale and Chad, and Dale is actually kicking ass. He doesn't. He's not able to defeat Chad because Chad can take a punch or two. Um, but we get this like weird scene where she's tied up and he's trying to untie her, and he turns on this bandsaw that cuts lumber, and
Chad does, not
oh
Dale.
yeah, Chad does, and she's in line. She's almost about to die, and he throws this axe, hits the rope at the right area, cuts it, so now she's free. And I called BS right away on that because she was tied down by many ropes. Anyways, um, so they go up to the next floor and they try to stave off Chad, and they're trying to think of what to do next. They see a
Newspaper.
newspaper of how the killer looked like Chad, and so now we realize that Chad is part hillbilly. They find some chamomile tea, and Chad.
Because
Uh,
apparently you are born hillbilly.
yeah, apparently hillbilly's a race, which is really weird. Um, but in his mind, that's what he believes. And he is able to use the chainsaw to get through the roof door, and he's able to make it up there, and he's about to attack Dale, and Dale throws. It looks. I thought it was sawdust at first, but he throws the chamomile tea at him, and it causes an allergic reaction in him because that's what he mentioned before, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry, it'll cause some allergic reaction, but as long as he has an inhaler, he'll be fine." But of course, as soon as he says that, Chad falls out the window. Another accident.
And is presumably dead.
And that's pretty much the end of the movie. But we get Tucker waking up in the hospital, and he gets his fingers back. But he's like, one of my fingers looks different, and I think it was a lady finger because it had nail polish on it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it looks great, and he's like, Tucker's like, did you ask out that girl? He's like, no, I didn't because we're
We're
not going to
going
dinner.
bowling.
We're going bowling instead. Oh, and then they have a bowling scene, and
And
they
Dale
kiss.
convinces one of his friends to go talk to a girl.
Yeah, be yourself, and the guy knocks her out, and they're just making out. They're like, we don't care. Movie ends.
Guy knocks her out and then presumes to drag her away.
Yep. All right, so that's the movie. Yeah, the best death scene was definitely the wood chipper. I agree with that. Um,
It's the one that stuck out the most.
yeah, they had the definite stereotypes of these college kids thinking that they know everything. They're like, "Well, I learned on my sociology class, but it's the Stockholm syndrome." It must be Stockholm syndrome, because college people usually sometimes think that they're better than others, especially hillbillies. They're like, "Oh, yeah, hillbillies are dumb."
Especially frats.
Yeah, and they're all in a frat, or the guys are in a frat. But the funniest death was the kid with the gun. Oh, turn the safety on. Huh? Okay. Never handled a gun before. Points it at his face to try to do it. Um, I like the sheriff's death was good with the nail bore to the face. I like that. Even the first one, the running one, when he's just like he's looking at they're looking at each other running away from hornets, and he just runs into that root, man, full speed. Good on him. Um, but yeah, the acting was terrible. Not by Dalen Tucker, but by the college kids.
It,
Chad was good though. Chad and Allison were good. Everyone else was kind of just meh
I
as characters.
honestly think that it's not the acting was bad; they're acting to be so bad.
Yeah, they're just being dumb on purpose.
Yeah, which
Um,
is good acting in that sense.
yeah, that is true. That is true.
If you can
Um,
purposely act to be a stupid character purposely, that is really good acting.
yeah, that's genius level. I try to do that in D&D. I'm still working on it. Because this it's fun to just act stupid and just make people laugh. Um,
If like your character is like trying to act smart, that isn't good acting, and that is being stupid.
yeah, but even like the script, the writing of the
Yep.
script, flipping it on its head, having not the hillbillies be the bad guys. I think it's a reference to like the hills have eyes and
Yep.
cabin in the woods or whatever.
And wrong turn.
Yeah, and all those hillbilly massacre movies. It's like these kids see those movies, they're like, oh my god, hillbillies are gonna kill us. Like that's in their mind. We are the victims right away. We are the victims. We must defend ourselves against people who aren't attacking you. Um, and that goes along with the psychology of the miscommunication thing and people misinterpreting things and that escalating into bigger conflicts. And Chad was the igniter of all those conflicts because his entire philosophy was from the beginning,
Hillbillies are bad.
hillbillies are just evil. They're not bad. They're evil. They're pure evil. Um, so if you have that victim mentality, it gives you the okay to do evil yourself, which means that you yourself are evil because you're just attacking people for no reason, just like a killer would, you know. So you have to slow down and talk to people, treat them normally, and then if they're acting, in a weird way where they're trying to kill you, well, then yeah, then defend yourself, but don't jump to conclusions. I think they
Ask
have a map for
questions.
that.
Ask
Yeah,
questions.
ask questions. Don't be stupid, and don't dive in head first into a wood chipper.
Or try to pull vote with a
Yeah,
spear.
don't do that, guys. And look where if you're running in the woods, look where you're running. Don't look at someone else. Look where you're running.
And
There's
also
trees in
look
there.
where you're driving.
Yes, look where you're driving, and don't be stupid. And when you're skinny dipping, actually skinny dip. You gotta take off all your clothes. I'm sorry, they weren't skinny dipping. That one chick kind of was, because she was topless. You can barely see it. Um, it was the stupid
Yep.
girl.
The
Um,
bimbo.
yeah, and she was the only one really doing it. But if you're gonna skinny dip, you gotta go all the way. It's not skinny dipping if you're not doing it all the way. You're just wearing a swimsuit, a makeshift swimsuit.
Your underwear.
Yeah, exactly. Um, all right, so we got one person watching. That's me.
Uh,
If you guys liked it, like and subscribe. We have Thursday is One Piece,
and
and
here
next
in a
sub.
little bit, we're going to be doing our podcast.
Oh right, podcast. Forgot about that. All right, cool. Yeah, we
We're going
will
to get out stream and then
get right to the podcast.
here in a few minutes because I'd still message Mike that we're ready.
All right, you can message him right now, or I'll
Uh,
message him.
uh, join us Thursday, One Piece. If I'm playing a game later in the week, also feel free to join. Thursday, we might be moving to Twitch, or we might be back on here, but I'll still upload the recordings onto YouTube. We're just hoping that
Yeah,
switching
it ended like 10 minutes ago.
switching live stream to Twitch will get us more engagement.
Hopefully.
But yeah, if you don't see us live on Thursday for One Piece, or I'll post a video saying my Twitch account if we move to Twitch. But see everybody in a bit.